Hey guys, this is NCS Fan 001 here, welcoming you to episode 8 of Fallout Cookbook Recipes, or just Fallout Recipes as I call it. Today's recipe is Buffout! So you're probably wondering, hey, isn't Buffout a drug in the series? It is. So since we're not trying to do anything illegal here, we're going to make some delicious Buffout styled cookies, apparently. So it's the closest thing to it. I guess this could be an edible if you wanted it to actually have a kick to it, I guess. I came up with my own cookies that look like Buffout. They don't have any... I came up with my own cookies that look like Buffout. They don't have any steroids in them, but I guarantee they're twice as addictive. We'll see about that. They give us +2 strength and endurance for 1 hour. It's an easy difficulty recipe. It takes about an hour of prep, 20 minutes of cooking, and gives us 36 cookies that will pair well with hot tea. The ingredients for this recipe are not too complicated. We need 2 sticks of unsalted butter that's been softened, half a cup of confectioner's sugar, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, a half teaspoon of almond extract, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of almond flour, 1 tablespoon of matcha powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Alright, so as one quick note for this, you are going to first want to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. So that is going on at the moment. You may hear it a little bit in the background. So our first step for this recipe, in a medium bowl, we need to combine the butter and confectioner's sugar first and foremost. So for this, it is the 2 sticks of butter. Here's our bowl, pretty good sized. It's been softened a bit, so hopefully it's correct. This is going to have a lot of butter in it, and a lot of sugar, and other stuff. Alright, so our butter's in. So then it is, the confectioner's sugar is half a cup, which actually when you think about it isn't really that much, compared to maybe what I would have expected for this kind of a recipe. So this is the kind of sugar you put on like a funnel cake and stuff. I already like the sound of that. So let's pour it in. Sugar's getting everywhere though, unfortunately. Next up, we add the vanilla and almond extracts. So we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla and a half teaspoon of almond. So I don't know if I have quite enough in just this bottle. So we need 2 teaspoons of the almond. It's the 1 teaspoon measure. Perfect. That's going to end up blocking the camera. Let me stand on the other side. A little bit out of practice on this. It's been a while since I've recorded one of these. 1 teaspoon. Oh, I actually had just enough. Fantastic. Yeah, just exactly enough. Great. 2 teaspoons of that. And then we need a half teaspoon of the almond extract. It actually has an interesting smell to it. So that's the extracts. The next step is to stir in all the remaining ingredients. So that would be the regular flour, the almond flour, and the matcha powder, as well as the salt and ground nutmeg. So this is going to take a bit of preparation here. It's going to take a little while to get all this done, so I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we got about 1.5 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. Half a cup of almond flour, which I don't think I've ever seen before, or consumed. Come on. Very chunky. A teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and finally a tablespoon of matcha powder, which I've never consumed and I'm not a big fan of the smell. So, now that all that's together, next up we have to stir in all the ingredients before we can actually put it away. The butter is getting nice and soft in here. I admit that is not the most appetizing looking stuff I've ever seen. And I'm not a fan of the planty smell at all. I don't know about this one, guys. I'm not so confident about this one. Okay, guys, I am not feeling very confident in that. That doesn't look appetizing in the slightest. Maybe if I knew it wasn't tea powder that literally smells like a mix between just weed and other random grass, maybe then it would be a little more appealing. So it says to cover a baking sheet with parchment paper, which I don't have. I have tin foil, so we're going to use tin foil or aluminum foil, Reynolds wrap, whatever it is, aluminum foil. And to cover it with flour, but not to spray it because that'll apparently flatten the cookies. So the next major step is to take a ball at a time of this stuff, about a tablespoon in size, flatten it out a little bit into a cookie type of shape, and then, using a knife, cut a cross in it. Oh, there it goes. And to do this for all of that mixture. So I'll be back in a while once we're done with that, because this is going to take a little while. Okay, well that's how they turned out, varying sizes and nowhere near all the material, because I can already tell I'm not going to like these very much or eat very many of them. So, once you've cut up your Buffout cookies, I'm most proud of the one in the bottom left corner at this point in time. And really just that front row looks way better than the others. I mean, I think maybe if I had let the butter soften a bit more it would be better, but it just, it's not, I'm not the biggest fan of that green pukish color. So it says once you have done this to go ahead and place the tray in the refrigerator for 1 hour. I completely forgot about that step, so we're going to have to let these harden up a little bit. Then we preheat the oven, and then we put it in the oven. So I'll see you guys much later. So the cookies, I guess you could call them, have chilled out enough. So now we're going to put them in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes until they are crispy. Sorry about the background noise, that is my dishwasher. So we're going to put these in for 15 to 20 minutes, and I'll catch you guys afterward for a taste test. So I gotta say, these came out looking better than I expected. They actually look like cookies. I mean, these are all a little bigger probably than they're bigger than they were supposed to be. I think they were supposed to be a little bit smaller than this, more like almost coin size, but they actually came out looking pretty good. And that trick with the flour, that was actually really good. That worked great. So that is something I would use probably in real life if I don't want to use like non-stick spray. So let's see how this tastes. This is how Buffout tastes, folks. You know, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be at all. It's not very sweet. It has very little sweetness to it. You can definitely taste the matcha a little bit, and it has like a very plant taste. But it's not overwhelming like I was expecting it to be. It's just, it tastes almost more like a biscuit than a cookie. Tastes more like a biscuit than a cookie overall. Really has like no sweetness to it, but it definitely tastes, like I said, more like a biscuit with a hint of plant flavor to it. So I would say if you were going to make these, if you want them to look like Buffout, I would suggest having probably more sugar and green food coloring instead of matcha powder. But you know, I'm pleasantly surprised. They are not anywhere near as bad as I thought they were going to be. It's not the worst thing in the world at all. It's not something I'd make again, at least not with that current recipe, but you know, it's not that bad. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you for the next one.